Good morning to all. I am Hema Priya, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research. Today I am going to start with the course Design of Steel Structures, which has a course code of U18 PCCE 604. Under this subject, we have five units. Unit 1 completely comprises of connections. Connections plays a vital role in design of steel structures. When comparing with reinforced concrete structures are cast monolithically. For example, column, beam, slab in reinforced concrete structures are cast monolithically, act monolithically to transfer the forces. Whereas when compared to steel structures, it is not so. Each structural elements are to be connected with one another using an connecting component. For example, steel column to be connected with the beam with an connecting component. It can be bolt, weld, plate, whatever it is. The connecting components plays a vital role in steel structures, and hence the unit 1 completely deals with the design of connections. And now the second unit completely deals with the design of tension members, and that is what we are going to discuss now. Pictorially, you could see what is a tension member. Whenever we discuss about elements of a structure, elements of a structure is nothing but parts of a structure, like how we have parts of our body, hands, legs, all these things are parts of our body, right? Likewise, parts of the structure, what are the parts of the structure? Column, beam, slab, even footing, all those things are general parts of a structure. Apart from that, in design of steel structures, we have another part called tension members. What is that and what for it is used? You could see the pictures of bridges with a longer span. Bridges with a very longer span. The main advantage of steel structure is about the length constraints. In RCC, there is a major constraints about the length, whereas in steel structures, you can run a beam even up to 200 meters long. For a major obstacle, bridge or any construction, you can go for steel structures which can withstand, right? For a longer structure, longer beam element, you go for additional cables, suspension cables for bridges. And such suspension cables, we call it as tension members. What is the purpose of that? What is the purpose of that? The main purpose is any beam, I will explain with an example so that you can easily understand. Any beam, horizontal beam, which can be supported at the ends, it can be simply supported, fixed, hinged, whatever may be the supports. When it is subjected to a vertically downward load, it will tend to bend, which will form an deflection at the load point. So your maximum deflection for that beam will be at that load point. And further, in continuation, it will tend to fail at that load point particularly. To overcome that, we provide tension members in different forms. In different forms, in the sense, in the form of a cable stays, suspensions, bracings, in any form, we provide this kind of tension members. What is the purpose of that? What is the duty of that tension member? To distribute the force, whatever coming at a particular point, to the entire member. The main role of the tension member is to distribute the force upcoming to the entire length of the member, so that we can avoid failure at a particular point. So that we can avoid failure at a particular point. This is the main purpose of tension member. Here you could see some pictures which has cables in the bridges and bracings in the structure. Here also you could see a longest bridge with some cables. Okay, here also you could see some bracings for a bridge. Okay, all these things comes under tension members. Coming to the introduction about the tension member, what is the basic characteristics about the tension member? The member will experience axial force and it will be ready to any stretch. The third thing is most important, uniformly it will distribute the stress over the entire cross section. Uniformly it will distribute the stress over the entire cross section. And second thing is it will be a very efficient member which will govern the strength, and bolt holes particularly will affect the strength of the tension member. Actually, we provide bolt holes for connecting that tension member to that subsequent member. The major disadvantage is that it will get weakened by the bolt holes provided. So you have to design considering the bolts. These are all some of the practical applications of tension members. Sag rod, you could see sag rod. So for example, first we will start from the roof truss. In the roof truss, you have tie member. The tie member is a tension member. And in the second member, suspended building, in that you provide bracing, horizontal as well as vertical, and that we call it as tension members. And in the third one, you have purlin system. In that you have sag rod. You have sag rod which connects the purlins. That sag rod is also termed as a tension member. And fourth one is a braced framed building wherein you have bracings vertically as well as horizontally, both horizontal and vertical braced to overcome the shear as well as the tensile stresses. And that kind of members we call it as tension members. That kind of members we call it as tension members. And these are also some of the examples for bridges. Road bridges, we have bracings. And as we have seen earlier in the picture, cable stayed bridges, stay cables, suspenders. The vertical elements are called as suspenders. Everything comes under tension members. And what are all the cross sections we use for designing the tension members? Here you could see angle section. Angle section you know very well. And this is the double angle. Double angle in the sense, sections whatever we use is, it can be an angle, channel section, T section individually, or I section, whatever it is. In addition to that, we go for built-up sections. Built-up sections are nothing but, instead of one section, we go for two sections for the same required cross-sectional area. And that is what we call it as built-up sections, right? In that built-up section, sometimes we go for double I section, or sometimes we go for double angle section. Sometimes we go for double channel placed back to back. All these things comes under built-up sections. And this is the behavior, how it behaves, tension member. Tension members, generally we go with high strength steel members, and the behavior will be, it will carry maximum tensile strength. Behavior of tension in bolt hole area. In bolt hole area, at different behavior, what will be the result? If it is elastic, the bolt hole will become weak like this. If it is elastoplastic, it will be like this. Ultimate, it will tend to fail at the bolt holes. And this is the plate with holes. Yes. Here you could see plates with staggered bolt holes. What is the difference in staggered and concentric straight? The major difference is, while designing the connections, you have to decide the diameter of the bolt as well as the number of bolts required. And how are you going to locate it? See here, you could see in this picture, you could see 10 bolts altogether. So straight away you can go for 4, 4, 2 or 5, 5. With that you can finish it off. But instead of that, here you could see this staggering 4, 3, 2, 1. What is the difference? At that particular cross section, see here, in this particular cross section, if you take the area of that particular cross section, that is net the area of that particular cross section, wherein you will detect the bolt holes, completely this cross section will be very much weakened because of the bolt holes. This cross section will be completely weakened because of the bolt holes. To avoid that, instead of one row, you are going for different rows with less number of bolt holes at a particular cross section so as not to weaken the section. Behavior in tension. Basically, we have elastic, elastoplastic, and then ultimate. And this is the formula for arriving gross strength, gross area design strength, and net area design strength. See angles. Angle sections, definitely it will be loaded eccentrically with the help of a gusset. Gusset is also a plate. In steel structure, everything is made out of plates. Based on the requirement, we give different name for the element. Somewhere it is a plate, somewhere it is an flat, somewhere it is gusset, somewhere it is stiffener. Based on the each location and purpose, we go for different names, but naturally everything is made out of plate. Gusset is also a plate which serves to connect the angle sections eccentrically. Why it is termed eccentrically? Angle section, only one leg of the angle will be mostly connected and the other leg will be outstanding, or unconnected leg or outstanding leg. Only one leg will be connected with the gusset. Factors affecting angle strength. What are all the factors which affects the angle strength? First, most important thing is the gusset thickness. That has to be designed carefully, designed or decided carefully, gusset thickness. And second one is angle thickness. Of course, we choose the angle from the steel table straight away or structural steel handbook straight away. In that, we should be very much careful in deciding the section for the design. Okay, angle sections, it can be equal angle or it can be unequal angle. Equal angle, unequal angle is nothing but the length of each leg. One leg may be same and the other leg may not be same. That comes under unequal angle. Even you can choose that also. Based on your requirement, you can choose that category also. So the thickness, angle size, everything you have to choose carefully. And third thing is about the shear lag, which is most important factor. That next coming topic, we will discuss about that in detail because that is most important topic. And next thing is end connections. Again, it is most important. What is that end connections? What is the element you are going to use to connect, whether a plate or directly a weld or bolt? What is the element you are going to connect? That is most important. And the design. If so, you are going to go for a gusset plate along with the bolts. What is the thickness of the gusset? What is the size of the gusset? And what kind of end connection you are going for? If it is a bolt, what is the diameter to be chosen and how many numbers required? All those things you have to decide carefully, which will definitely affect the strength of the angle. And next one is about the block shear, that also we will discuss in the next coming topics. And next most important topic is about the shear lag. Shear lag. What is that shear lag? Here you could see plates when subjected to tension. Plates when subjected to tension. You know, easily you can imagine a plate. It has been pulled on both the sides, both the ends. It has been pulled. That is what it is given as plates when subjected to tension are subjected to shear deformation near the edges. Plates, when subjected to tension, are subjected to shear deformation near edges. Shear stress produced in material gradually transfer the tension from edges to the central axis of the plate. Shear stress produced in material gradually transfer tension at edges to the central axis of the plate. So now you could understand the process of shear lag. What is the shear lag? Next point, will let us complete this and I will explain it again. Transfer of stresses take place in the length of the member approximately equal to its width. Beyond this length, tensile stresses are assumed to be uniformly distributed over the whole section of plate. Transmission of length at edges to full width by shear stress is shear lag. So as I was telling you earlier, a plate is subjected to a tensile force. That is nothing but you are applying a pull at both the edges of the plate. Because of that, there will be a shear deformation subjected at the edges. What is the purpose of that shear deformation? The main purpose is to distribute the tensile force throughout the entire area of that particular plate element. That process we call it as shear lag, and which is most important thing. As I was telling earlier, for tension members, what is the purpose of tension member? Any horizontal element which is subjected to a vertically downward force will tend to bend at that load point. Will tend to bend at that load point and it will create deflection, maximum deflection at that particular load point. To avoid that, we provide tension members which distributes the load throughout the entire length of the member. That is what here the shear lag also happens, and that is the process also, of course. In this I-beam, internal transfer of force from flange to web is done by shear. Okay, internal transfer of force from flange to web is done by shear. In case of angles, transfer of forces from one leg to other, that is also done by shear. So angles under tension, effect of shear lag. Strength reduction can be reduced, and then area of outstanding leg to the area of gross as the end connections stiffens. Non-uniform stress. Under non-uniform stress, what will happen? More stress near restraint, less stress near unrestrained free ends. See, you could see here at the bolt zone, there is more stress and less stress near the unrestrained or free ends. See, this is the process of shear lag. You could see channels, both legs are connected. This is how through the connection, the entire cross section is being distributed. Whatever force the member carries, that will be tensile force or whatever it is, that will be distributed to the entire cross section, and that process we call it as shear lag. In the shear lag, single leg will be connected in the particularly in angles and eccentrically loaded through gusset plates. It will be obviously eccentrically loaded through gusset plates. See, in that example, you could see one leg, that is unconnected leg. This is the unconnected leg and we call it as outstanding leg. And moreover, it is unstiffened. Unstiffened is nothing but at many sections, whatever we design here stiffener additionally, which is being provided at frequent interval throughout its length of the member. That sort of members we call it as stiffened member, and the members which are provided without stiffness are we call it as unstiffened member. So effects of shear lag, what will happen? Strength reduction. Part of cross section will be ineffective if the shear lag process is not happening correctly. Factors affecting shear lag. Main factor is that about the outstanding leg. See, angle section, one leg will be connected and the other leg will be outstanding. Because of this outstanding leg, that the process of shear lag may affect. And the connection, what kind of connection you are going for, whether you are going for rigid connection or flexible connection. If you are going for flexible connection, shear lag process or the thing will be more. You can get more shear lag. So always it is better to go for flexible connections in the case of shear lag. And this is the formula for arriving rupture at net sections. Net section, that is denoted by symbol T suffix Dn, that is equal to 0.9 A suffix Nc. A suffix Nc is nothing but net area of the connected leg. Okay, read out everything, each and everything carefully. Fu, already I've informed you, F always refers to ultimate, I mean strength, in that U refers to ultimate and Y refers to yield. F always refers to strength, U is for ultimate and Y is for yield. So Fu is nothing but ultimate strength. And next one is your gamma M1. It is a partial safety factor. B is the reduction factor based on the contribution of unconnected outstand. And AGO, it is nothing but gross area of unconnected leg. And Fy, I've already informed, Fy is nothing but yield strength. And gamma M naught, again it is a safety factor. Again, rupture of net section for different type of connections, bolted as well as welded. Here follows the formulas. And for beta value, here is the formula. And this is the limitations. B into AGO into Fy divided by gamma M naught. Upper limit, lower limit. Strength of net section. Strength of gross section. And then coming to the block shear. The formulas are there, and moreover, all the formulas are available in code book. What is the standard code to be followed for design of steel structures? It is IS 800 2007. 2007, you keep it in mind because that is the revised latest edition which is to be followed. Earlier it is IS 800 1984 and the recent edition is IS 800 2007. There is a drastic and major difference between the code. Okay, the design methodology have been changed between the codes. Earlier in the previous code IS 800 1984, the method of design which has been followed is working stress method of design, whereas now in the IS 800 2007, the method of design has been changed to limit state method of design. That is the drastic change. And moreover, in coming to the connections, earlier we had bolted, welded, riveted connections too. Whereas now in the case of IS 800 2007, the riveted connections are outdated because of the safety issues and it requires more time with skilled laborers, right? But now also in very, very older railway stations or older buildings, you could see some of the riveted connections still available. And now coming to the design of tension members, all the design, whatever you design any member, based on the efficiency, you can decide the strength. Based on the efficiency, you can decide the strength. And coming to the design steps, first of all, area net and gross is most important. You have to choose a trial section. What is that? Choosing a trial section from the steel tables or structural engineer's handbook, you have to choose a trial section. Trial section is nothing but angle or rod or cables, whatever it is, whatever member we are going to design, that has to be chosen first. And further, you have to check for the other requirements. Now coming to the stiffness requirements. Under three categories, what are the three? One is whether the member is going to be designed for compression under reverse stress reversal, or it is not going to be designed for compression under reverse stress reversal. And third one, members going to be designed only for tension. You have to consider this also based on choosing the member. Next, coming an important topic called lug angles. What is this lug angle? You could see the picture. A short length of angle section attached to the main tension member. A short length of angle section attached to the main tension member at connecting end. That's all is about the lug angle. But you could see the picture showing lug angle. You could see the picture showing lug angle. One main angle section that is connected with the help of a gusset. One main angle section that is connected with the help of a gusset. In addition to that, you are going for an additional smaller angle section that is also connected with the gusset and angle sections. What is the purpose of that lug angle? Main purpose. Whenever we design connections, you have to decide the gusset plate thickness and the area required. Gusset plate area required. And further, bolts. What is the diameter and how many number of bolts required for connecting that particular tension member or to transfer the force from one element to the other element, right? This is what we call it as connection. But design, in the case of design, see here you could see the gusset is given in the trapezoidal shape. The gusset plate is given in the trapezoidal shape, but at the same time in the design, you require minimum 4 bolts to be connected. You require 4 bolts to be connected. 2 bolts that have been placed here in the main member. And what about the other 2 bolts? Where to be connected? How to be connected for transferring the force? For that, you are adding an additional smaller angle called lug angle. For that, you add an additional smaller angle called lug angle. That is given only for a shorter length, not throughout the entire length. That is given only for the shorter length, which is mainly provided to satisfy the connections. Which is mainly provided to satisfy the connections. So any member which is to be connected has to be designed properly. In the case of design, you have to decide the thickness of the gusset plate and of course the area of the gusset plate, which in turn can be arrived as size of the gusset plate. Size of the gusset plate and further bolt numbers required to transfer the force, right? And that is what we call it as connection. In that, if the gusset and the bolt holes cannot be satisfied with the only with the main element, we go for an additional smaller angle sections called lug angles. Called lug angles. This kind of lug angles can be used not only for tension member, even for all other compression member design, beam design, flexural member design. For all other member design connections, you can go for this kind of lug angles, which is most important. And what is the advantages? When a tension member is connected to gusset, at its ends, a large number of bolts are required, especially when the tensile loads are large, necessitating the provision of Big size gusset, that is what I was saying, big size gusset plate. The size of the gusset plate decreased, providing an extra gauge length for accommodating the required number of bolts. That is what I was telling you. For accommodating number of bolts required, we go for an additional smaller angle, which will increase the efficiency of the outstanding leg. Outstanding leg is there in the angle section, because in angle section, only one leg will be connected and the other leg will be totally free, and that is what we call it as outstanding leg. That will decrease the length of the end connections. How is IS 2007, 8, I mean IS 800 2007 give the lug angle, which will be very effective connection, which will give the effective connection, and it will terminate the end of the member. Connection starts in advance of the member equal to the gusset plates. Minimum 2 bolts, rivets or equivalent welds can be given. If the main member is an angle, the whole area of the member shall be taken as effective. Lug angle to gusset plate. 20% more than the force in outstanding leg. Lug angle to main member, 40% of more than the force in outstanding leg. It will make the section symmetric. It will make the section symmetric. Lug angle to gusset plate, that is equal to 10% more than the force in outstanding leg. Lug angle to main member, 20% more than the force in outstanding leg. Pictorially, clearly it has been represented the percentage difference with the lug angles for symmetric section and for unsymmetrical sections. 10%, 20% for symmetric, 20% and 40% for unsymmetric. And this is your splicing. This is tension member splice. The splicing concept is not only here in tension members, any member wherein your length is not sufficient and that has to be extended, you have to go for a connection, and that is what we call it as splicing. This splicing can be done for any element, any member, for beam splicing, column splicing, tension member splicing, whatever it is. Basic requirement is the length. For satisfying the length, you go for an additional member and that has to be connected. The thickness, even you can reduce the thickness of the connecting member, continuing member, or you may not change. See, these are all some of the splicings, examples of splicings. And this is all about the tension members, design, shear lag, block shear, and further tension member splicing. With this, we come to an end of tension member splicing. Thank you.